All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I like to try to be comfortable. How's everybody doing today? I'm gonna do a sound check. Is this too loud? Is this okay? Oh, awesome, awesome. There's some handouts, I like to double with technology and low in technology and handouts, because you know with kids, you gotta hit them from all directions. So here's some handouts for you to use to go along. I'm going to do a mixture of digital footprints, kind of explain what I mean by digital footprints and some branding. So I need a volunteer first, and you know how in our classes, like we like to have volunteers to get the students engaged. So who's going to be my volunteer? Okay, thank you. Okay, now you're volunteering you're going to keep my time so I don't go over time. So if I have 5 minutes left, just put up 5 minutes, because I'm sometimes long-winded. So using technology and the handout, so you know you got to keep the kids involved and let them know what you're talking about, because their minds will drift away. And it's still early in the morning. I'm sure everybody had all their coffee and everything. So I'm also going to ask for volunteers to answer some questions also. The reason being, I'm an elementary school teacher. I teach engineering and technology. So I have pre-K to 5th grade. So I have a wide range of attention spans and knowledge levels. And it's interesting because sometimes my kindergarten students know more than my 5th grade students. So, you know, it's a real interesting dynamic with them. But my name is William Jackson. I teach in Jacksonville, Florida with Duval County Public Schools. I've been teaching over 20 years. I love it. I enjoy it. I started out as a physical education teacher. Was bitten by the technology bug. I teach at elementary school, teach at a local college also. I teach educational technology. Obviously, I blog and use different forms of social media to share information. So I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of information, but I'm very energetic, very active, of course, teaching elementary school. And then with my higher ed kids, you got to make sure that they understand where you're coming from too, so you have to entertain them sometimes as well. So you're going to be my students for the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to entertain you and get you to think about things that maybe you have not thought about before and share information as well. So is everybody good with that? Awesome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. These are some of my kids at my school. So they all like to crowd around here and be a part of the activities and everything that's going on. I said, hey, I'm going to a conference. Would y'all like taking a picture with me? And of course, they all jumped in and said, yeah, sure. So these are my 2nd grade students, or some of my 2nd grade students at my school. My Twitter handle is at the bottom, William Jackson. So please send me some tweets about how you enjoy the information I'm going to share. If you think you can share it with another educational professional or parent or even a student, feel free to do that. Let me know what you think about everything. All right, putting your best digital footprint forward. So as you use technology, we always want to go forward. We cannot go backward. Technology is here to stay. So depending on what type of feed you have, it's going to depend on the type of direction that you're going to take, obviously. So you have to be careful where you put your foot online. You have to make sure that you're comfortable where you're walking online. And the way I tell my kids this is like, let's say you're walking down the street, you're walking on the sidewalk. It's relatively safe as you're walking on the sidewalk. There may be little things that you might have to watch out for, like dog poop, you move away from that. Squirrel poop, you move away from that. A dog or cat might run across you, rats, that kind of thing, roaches, things in the environment. But you have to be careful where you walk, who you associate yourself with, and also the content you put out there, not only about yourself, about what you're doing, about what other people are doing as well. And you want to always make sure you put positive content out there. So you have to constantly be careful. You leave digital tracks that people follow you. So using you as my students, for instance, I would typically say I need everybody to take out their cell phones because I need you to tweet, text, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you're using for social media, to send this information out about what you're doing and where you're at and who you're associated with or who you have become friends with or who you're networking. Because people love to follow positive information. They love to follow where you're going, what you're doing, what you're involved in. So by a show of hands, when you were driving here to Full Sail, how many of you tweeted where you were going this morning? Because I know I was. Not while you were driving, but you know, stopping at a stoplight or McDonald's. So how many of you tweeted where you were going this morning? Nobody? Oh, raise your hand real high. Don't be okay. Very good. How many of you Facebook where you were going this morning? Awesome. How many on Instagram where you were going? Okay. How many of you are sure you're actually in the right place? Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. So people will track you where you are online. And a lot of times people will track you and not even let you know that they're tracking you. You know, there's those ghosts, those people that are looking, those creepers that are watching what's going on. And you may not never find out who they are, but in the back of your mind, you have to also think that there's somebody that has their eyes on me, or you in this case. As educators, we are role models. Obviously, we know that. So our high school educators, raise your hand. All right. How about our middle school educators? Awesome. How about our elementary? And who else do we have in college, higher education? Wow, that is great. Okay, so we have a collaboration of educators here, which is good. So before you leave, you have to network with at least 2 people. Okay, because summertime is coming up and some of us are looking for summer jobs, right? Or we're going to relax this summer. But as educators, we are role models because our students watch us all the time. All right, we automatically know that by our behaviors, and we have to set a good example. We should be mentors also about using social media. So if you're using a particular type of social media, don't be scared to tell your students, yes, I'm on Instagram, or yes, I use Twitter, or yes, I use Facebook, and this is what I do online. You don't have to tell them to follow your lead, because they'll actually follow you or find you. So you have to make that determination, particularly like on Facebook, if you're going to be friends with them or not. Because you have to understand some of the ramifications of being friends with your students. There's good and there's bad. Unless, in some cases, like some people do, set up a separate Facebook account where you can have school information. So you have to be very careful. You have to be advocates as well. Social media is not going anywhere. It always changes. So as educational professionals, we have to advocate the best way and supportive way and positive way to use social media. Why? Because if we have our kids in our classrooms every day of the week, or a couple of days of the week, I would rather see my students in my classroom and in school and not on the news about what they sent out by social media. If you notice the way law enforcement is getting more involved in, they're tracking student behavior through social media to potentially predict where controversies lie, not just in school, in the community, because that's where our kids communicate. That's where they share information, obviously. That's where a lot of gossip is going. So you have the elements of bullying and cyberbullying, which unfortunately is growing. I'm going to do presentations on bullying and cyberbullying, and the kids are now like, yeah, the first place we go to is our social media, so we'll talk about what's going on in school before we actually get to school. So as educational professionals, we can moderate and be role models and advocates for professional use and safe use of social media. Also, an inspiration for intellectualism. Now, when we talk about intellectualism, we're talking about the smart use of using social media. Why they should use it, or why our students should use it to promote intellectualism. How to think a particular way to think, to get them to think forward in their college or pre-college years about why their positive content that's out there is important. Because as we all know, as our high school students start thinking about going to higher education or vocational school or even military service, there are people looking at their content, whether they're that right fit for whatever school they're trying to go to or whatever profession. Okay? Discovery. We have to get our kids excited about discovering new things that are out there. We have to get them excited about doing research. We have to get them excited about applying their intellectualism, their passion, their abilities, and their talents to use social media in a fun way, but an intellectual and a passionate way to advance them in their future careers. Your footprint should engage students to get them actively involved. It should excite your students just as you're excited, because I can see all the smiles on everybody's faces. Everybody's woke, right? I need interaction. Everybody's woke, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're all woke. We had our coffee. We had our breakfast. There's some great stuff out there that you can enjoy also. So we have to be excited and energized. We have to show our students that we are energized. Why we are here every day teaching them, that we love our profession. We're excited about our profession. Even though we may forget our coffee, spill our coffee, get to work kind of late, our principals or administrators stop us to ask us questions that we have no answers of because we just got at school this morning. And they want things like 10 minutes ago. So we still have to be energized and excited. And importantly, we have to encourage our students constantly and continuously, because they need to know that someone cares about them, someone's encouraged to see them, because we may be the only encouraging face during that day with their interaction with their students or with their peers. So as teachers, we inspire, teach, and we change the world for our students. Now, what does this have to do with social media? Well, one thing, we have to inspire our students to continuously do good and be role models for their peers as well. We also have to teach constantly. There isn't a time, in my opinion, where we're not teachers, whether we're on a school campus or off our school campus, whether we're walking around in the community. Being in Jacksonville, Florida, you would think as big as Jacksonville was, you wouldn't see your students. Every once in a while, I'll go to the store, I'll go to Walmart. Oh, I'm not going to see anybody. I hear off in the distance, there's Mr. Jackson, my engineering teacher, hey! So the kids will drag their parents over there, and of course I have to meet the parents and shake their hands and give good reports about what's going on in class. So you never know who's going to see you. You never know who's going to be engaged with you. When you put your picture out there on social media, you never know who's going to connect with you. You might be walking by a car one day and this little hand or this big hand reaches out and tries to grab you. And you're like, whoa, what's that? And that's one of your students trying to get your attention. How many has that happened to? You've been walking around and your students call you out of nowhere and you hear this little voice. All right. And yeah, it's kind of funny sometimes. It's like you're trying to hide from them, but you never can. Change is a constant in education, as you know. There's always something changing. Every 6 months with technology itself, there's always a change. Something is different. So we have to do our best to keep up. I don't think we have to be experts, but we do have to be knowledgeable about the change. It's important to have passion for the type of content that we are creating. Because if we don't have passion in our content, when people are reading our content or viewing our content, they can tell that we're not passionate. We're not inspired about what we're doing. We're just doing it just to do it. So you got to have some passion involved in it too. Anybody have any questions or comments so far? Okay, everybody enjoying this so far? I'd like to check it out. All right, awesome. All right, social media for educators enhances your ability to market and brand yourself. We as educators have to consistently market and brand ourselves. Why? Because we are in a profession that shares knowledge with the youth. We have an opportunity to change the world. Everybody wants to change the world, but we are the true changers of the world. That's the way I look at it, because we have young minds in our classes that are very diverse. So it is our opportunity and our responsibility to help market and brand ourselves as positive elements to promote positive change in our students. Not only that, but since we have a diverse audience, we have to diverse ourselves as well in how we present information. So one example, y'all get handouts for people that still like paper. We're using a PowerPoint presentation. We're using a microphone. I'm walking back and forth because I don't want to stand in one spot to make sure I get everybody's attention. So we have to diversify or be diversive in how we present information. There's a lot of digital tools that are out there. Find a digital tool that you feel comfortable with. And what I like to do, if there's new tools out there that I don't feel comfortable with, the first thing I do is I'll ask the students, Who understands how to use this digital tool? Or who understands how to use this social media platform? And it's interesting teaching in the elementary school. Y'all ask a question of my second graders and 3 or 4 hands will go up and they'll say, hey, this is how I use it at home. I don't get into the question of who taught you how to use it or what do you use it at home for. I'm just excited about the opportunity for them to teach me. So anytime you have an opportunity for your students to teach you, take advantage of it because you're developing leaders in particular fields or potential careers. NPR, which is one of my favorite stations to listen to, a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about the influx of social media and education. And one of the things that they stated was elementary students that are going to school now, 60% of their careers have not even been created yet from technology and social media. So here you have a vast amount of information, and our young people in elementary schools, and in some cases middle school, their careers haven't even started. Careers haven't even been created. So using technology allows our students to grow. It's also important to make sure it's fun for your kids to use to learn. They want to be entertained. They still want to have fun because they're kids. Even my college students, they want to have fun. So I have to make it entertaining for them. So with me, when I was driving down here, I was trying to figure out a way how I could make this fun for the audience. I didn't care if it was 3 people or 8 people or 50 people. I wanted it to be fun. So we're going to do a little fun exercise real quick. Y'all ready? It's real quick. I want you to turn, when I say go, to your left and then turn to your right. And I want you to tell the person to your left and to your right your first name and then your Twitter handle, or if you don't have Twitter, your Facebook name. You ready? Go. All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Now, one of the things when you're doing an exercise like this and you start to talk, you have to reel your students back in. Thank you. And then we learn who the social butterflies are in the class. We learn who likes to get up and walk and just lean on the table. Then we'll have to say, young man, you can get her number later. Okay? Then you can see the students that are really actively involved. You can see the students who are shy. You can read the students' faces of the students that really enjoyed the activity or didn't want to be bothered. So you can kind of gauge your teaching, how your students interact from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, because you want all your students to take away something of value. They're not going to learn the same thing the same way or retain the same information because everybody's different, just as in here. So you want to make sure that they are engaged, or at least they get something out of it. A purpose to a plan and a mission even for educational ministry. That means that we have to minister to our students in a way that they feel accepted, that they feel loved, that they feel needed, that they feel that they are valued. Okay? That they feel that they are valued in that class. So when your students feel that they are valued and they come to your class and know that they're more excited about learning and participating in your classrooms. So we have different kind of bloggers. We have the regular bloggers. We have the V-bloggers. What are V-bloggers? Video bloggers. What are podcasters? All right. What are microbloggers? Twitter. Very good. Okay, thank you very much. All right, next thing, and I'm not going to ask you to take your shoes off or anything, but what kinds of feeds are you using? These are some of the things to consider. When you're on social media, what kind of tracks, what kind of digital footprint are you leaving behind you? That's kind of like telling the kids, Okay, before you make a post on Facebook, is this something that your mom or your grandma would blush at? Is this something that your dad would get upset about? Is this something that your siblings would want to punch you in the face about? So you have to consider what type of feed you're using. All right, what kind of feed are you following? Or who are you following? Because there's a term called guilt by association. We are guilty with the people we associate with. So are the type of people you associate with or following online the same type of people in 5, 10, 15 years you still want to be associated with? Because it's very important as educational professionals, when people look at us and they do a search on us or about us on Google, they're also going to find people that are associated with us. So are these the type of people we want to follow and be associated with? What kind of feed are you following? What kind of feet are following you? So you need to take that into consideration also. Because your kids will tell you real quick, oh, you're such and such with this friend, and you're such and such with that friend. And they kind of associate you with the people that you follow. All right, why blog? Okay, let me get 3 volunteers to stand up before I pick you to stand up. All right, that's 1. Thank you. Let's get another one. 2. Yay, 1 more. Let's get a guy. Come on, guys, we have to represent. Gentlemen. And they always do. Why do guys always do that? The young ladies will stand up, and it's like you got to intimidate the guys. Thank you, sir. So all I need you to do is to tell us, why do you blog and the type of content you blog. So let's start with this young lady.
I run the student website here for FlSAM that is for community.
Okay.
So I blog to build community and interaction and keep retention.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's give her a hand. Yes, ma'am.
I blog about science education. I have a blog with 2 other science educators, one in Pennsylvania and one in Kansas. And I blog so that I can have the same kinds of conversations I have with my teachers at school with people all over the world.
Okay, also, give her a hand. Yes, sir.
I blog, well, I usually guest blog more than blog myself, about education technology, because I own an educational software company and it helps me to establish thought leadership.
Okay, great. Give them a hand. So anytime we have our students stand up and present information, it's always a good idea as educational professionals that we recognize the effort that they put into it. Because a lot of kids are not going to stand up because they don't want to be recognized. But we need to find a way to inspire all of our youth to find out what their talents and their abilities are. So at the bottom it has knowledge sharing. We are experts in sharing knowledge. But we have to use different modes and means and differentiated instruction to share that knowledge, whether the kids want it or not. Now, what does that have to do with social media? That means that we have to be able to integrate different types of technology so our kids understand where we're coming from and where we're trying to take them. So if they don't connect with it in the classroom, we provide them resources outside the classroom to research fun ways. Because I tell my kids, I love using YouTube videos. One reason is so I don't have to stand in front of them the whole time and talk to them. Because after 10 minutes, it'll go in one ear and go out the other. So using different types of technology helps. Use questions to spark your content creation. Questioning yourself sometimes is a good thing because you're rationalizing and you're giving reasons why you're doing what you're doing. And we've all heard of critical and higher order thinking skills. We have those skills after years of experience in professional development, but we have to make sure our students understand why critical thinking and higher order thinking skills is important. Making those connections with learning, making the connection with us as their educational leaders. We have to use scaffolding, relevancy, and accuracy as well for them to connect with their learning so that way at the end of the semester or end of the grading period, they have something again that they can take with them and they can make connections and continuously learn. Teacher blogging creates a paradigm shift. I just love that word, paradigm shift, in knowledge sharing and content creation. I love Bill Gates because he's always talking about knowledge sharing and content creation. Those key statements should help our students actually accept the information that we're trying to share with them, and us as professionals, how important our knowledge is. Content critical, caution, care, the 4 C's that we need to take into account. The type of content that we create is critical to learning. We have to use caution and care because our kids stand on every word that we share with them. How many times have you made a comment and they've gone back home to their parents and said, my teacher said this, this, and this. And they're so excited that they'll tell their parents that they're wrong while we're wrong when they make that connection. So we have to be really careful. We also have to be adaptable, flexible, digital, and stealthy in our classrooms. We have to be adaptable to the type of students that we have in our classrooms, being diverse educators. We have to be flexible to our working conditions. Of course, we have to use those digital tools. And sometimes we have to be stealthy because we have to try to get them to learn when they don't think that they're learning. So that's part of the entertainment part. Get them engaged, get them involved. They don't know they're learning, but they actually are. And hands-on is a great way to do it. So if you have that limited time with hands-on in the classroom, encourage them through homework or projects or assignments to continue the learning at home and why they should do it. You have to be passionate, have an appetite, and a purpose. Show your passion. Don't be scared to show your passion to your students because that makes them excited. That makes them the one to continue to learn. They should be able to say, well, my teacher taught me this no matter what grade. I want to learn more. I have an appetite for learning because I want to take something back and share with my teacher and have a purpose. What is the purpose? Yes, we have educational objectives for our classroom, but what about outside our classroom? What about outside our schools? Because a lot of learning takes place outside the schools. So if they're talking about you on social media and what they've learned in the class, that's a positive thing. So I encourage my students, if you get on Facebook, if you get on Twitter, if you get on Instagram, share with your peers what you learned in school. Because people love to follow positive content. So with that said, in conclusion, anybody have any questions? Comments? Yes, ma'am. W.M. Jackson. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing because I have people running out here. But this is just some extra information I wanted to share about social media at the bottom, your personal brand. So take this with you and hopefully these ideas help you. Yes, ma'am.
While you're encouraging students to utilize social media, how do you talk about safety? Because you're talking about tweeting on where you're going this morning.
Right.
How do you talk to your elementary, middle, or even our college students about making safe choices?
Well, when I'm talking about elementary students, I remind them that the internet or social media is a reflection of society. So you have good people and not so good people. You have to be careful who you make friends with. And even at that age, they're not supposed to be on social media, but somebody put them there. I always make sure I tell them, if you have questions, ask your parents. If your parents don't know, encourage your parents to come to the school and to talk to a teacher. Or go online and YouTube and type in a question and find out that answer. But always think about the type of information that's out there and how you can effectively use it. And I remind them that you're still children. You're constantly learning. It's good that you're excited about it, but you have to be very careful about the information you also put out there about yourself and the type of information you get from your friends. Anyone else? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And then we have like 5 minutes for our next presenter. So if you have to run,
Everybody else is all right. Farms don't look at it. Should.